Happy hump day, everybody. It's Wednesday. And I just sort of sounded like Oprah for a second there. We've got one person joining us. We are room 11. Thank you. We are room 11. And hello, everybody. I'm getting ready to take a walk outside because it got sunny all of a sudden. So I'm super psyched. But guess what? We have somebody fun we're going to be talking to right now. Live from South Bend, Indiana, ladies and gentlemen, we have Chaston Buttigieg. Who we're going to be saying hi to. We're not going to be talking too much about COVID-19. We are going to be talking to, oh, someone said, hi, Chaston.
Hi, how are you?
Look you look so clean and all nice. You must have combed your hair.
I did shower today, and I'm really proud of myself.
Yeah. Mazel Mazel. I did too, and actually, I dyed my own roots last night, and I feel like a new woman, Chaston.
Congratulations. I really do think it's the little things like that.
Right?
Like if you get up and shower in the morning and put real pants on, the day goes so differently.
I agree. I think, and that's what all the psychologists are saying, that you have to have a routine, you have to be on a schedule. And we just thought it would be fun to say hi. Of course, we met a number of years ago. Gosh, I can't believe it, Chaston. Yeah. Thank you. They're saying that I did a good job with my roots. Thank you, everybody. Maybe I'll become a hairdresser. Anyway, we met at South by Southwest before Pete even declared that he was going to run for president of the United States. I think you all were just thinking about it, or maybe it was around that same time. Do you remember?
You know, that last year and a half is an absolute blur, but I do remember South by Southwest, and I think that was his first town hall when he did
that's right.
With CNN, and then everything blew up from there.
That's right. Well, gosh, what an incredible year you guys had. And really, I guess this year, I mean, I can't imagine how the history books are going to write about this year, but what was that experience like for you, Chaston? Just seeing the political system in action. Pete impressed so many people with his extraordinary eloquence and knowledge. I'm such a huge admirer of his, and also his heart. And I'm just curious what that whole experience was like for you.
It was an adventure, and I have to say I appreciate you wanting to chat, because I think so often folks don't want to think about the political impact on families or spouses, and I appreciate having the opportunity to share a little bit of my side and my experience. You know, I spoke so often on the campaign trail when I was, giving a stump speech or at fundraisers or rallies, just about how I never imagined that I would be in those shoes, that I would be married to a presidential candidate, that I would be the one zigzagging across America, only because I grew up in Northern Michigan. I grew up in a pretty conservative place, and I didn't come out until after high school. And I just felt like politics was always the thing that happened to me. It wasn't something that I was allowed to play a part of. And I really grew up feeling like most politicians and people in positions of power just didn't care about me. And, fast forward to then falling in love with Pete and then the presidential race, going out and meeting thousands of people who felt the exact same way, so disenfranchised by the system, feeling forgotten or lost or giving up hope. And it was really a joy and a privilege to travel the country and meet other people and talk about, that brighter vision that we shared, a hope for something better and more inclusive and accepting, and a better politics for all of us. And I'm just a middle school teacher. I was a theater teacher, and I never thought that this is what I would be doing with my life, but it really was an absolute pleasure.
And you must have been so proud to see Pete time and time again. Brian Goldsmith's a very close friend of mine, and he was an advisor on your campaign. Yeah. Such a smart, wonderful person. And, you must have felt, so I would talk to him a little bit, obviously, to a lot of the campaigns during the primary process. You must have felt so proud of Pete when he performed, well, debate after debate after debate. I can't imagine how stressed. I mean, I could never do that. I would be, and don't say just a teacher, someone
I
said.
saw that, and I was very upset at myself for saying that, because I'm always the one say, don't say just, but
I agree. And I think teachers are some of the most important professionals on the planet. We owe them so much. But anyway, getting back to sort of how you felt when you saw your husband doing so well, I mean, that must have been so awesome.
it was incredible, and I was deeply proud of him, especially at the debates, because Peter is unflappable. I mean,
Oh,
nothing.
Peter.
Yeah,
Is it Peter?
yeah, Peter Paul if he's in trouble. But he's so unflappable. Nothing gets under his skin, and I think he has learned, how to separate emotion from the work, and because he feels so emotive about, or because he feels so deeply about changing people's lives and improving people's lives, that's why he's out there doing that work. But watching him on the debate stage, take incoming fire and having people say untruthful things about him on television or in the media, and how he was always just kind of here the entire time. He was always focused on the goal. And it made me very proud as his husband to sit there and watch him, in the beginning, taking on all the naysayers, and then, going on to win the Iowa caucuses. I mean, that was just incredible to watch someone so dedicated to the work and doing it for all the right reasons.
So people who are just joining us, we're talking, I'm having a fun conversation with Chaston Buttigieg. Boy, those are two hard names to pronounce together, Chaston. You know that, right?
Yes.
But I think everyone has Buttigieg down pat at this point. But does he ever get his, does he ever become rattled, or is he always so cool, calm, and collected? What makes Pete mad, Chaston? You of all people should know.
Well, when it comes to the work, I mean, running for president is a job as well. And your job is not to necessarily jump in on the daily attacks on Twitter, because Twitter only represents, less than 10% of Americans are even on Twitter.
That's so true. That's so true.
Right.
People, I think, amplify the important. I mean, I love Twitter too, but they amplify. It gives people a false sense of what Americans think and believe and where they stand.
Correct. Yeah, and that's why out on the trail, he was so focused on the job and the deliverables and making sure that he was going everywhere possible and talking to everyone that he could, and not just, spending all of his time and even mental energy on what people might be saying on Twitter, what people might be saying in the media, because we're talking about hundreds of millions of people who are depending on us to get this right. And I was so surprised in Iowa, people are coming to those town halls and they're talking about affording their insulin, they're talking about childcare, they're talking about education or farming. And you rarely often see those people's stories and realities depicted on social media, because social media might be a little bit more focused on what fires people up and what might get clicks. And I was so proud of Peter for focusing on those people's stories, those people's realities, and how to best deliver for them. And not necessarily getting himself riled up. But I will tell you that the times that I actually hear him yell, like actually raise his voice, are when the dogs get in the trash.
Oh. You guys have 2 dogs, right?
We have 2 dogs, yes. So hopefully they come join us. We have
tell him I want, and I know Pete's out on a run, but tell him I've been trying to get him to talk to me for a long time now, Chaston. So I'm trying to, I'm trying to worm my way in through you.
You will. I think what I told Peter was, I think maybe it's best that we talk about maybe more things that I can talk about, because I think, especially now, you have been doing such an excellent job with the COVID-19 coverage and bringing in stories. And I never want to claim to be, a political professional. So I think he's excited to dig in on that stuff with you.
Well, I'd love to. I mean, I do feel like I have to ask you one political question. You can say no if you don't want to, but Bernie Sanders dropped out today. Yeah. And I'm just curious. I'm sure you guys were paying very close attention. I was sort of surprised at the timing. I think I've been so focused on COVID-19, I haven't really been following all the political news as closely as I normally do. But were you surprised? And I don't know, do you just have any thoughts about it in general?
No, what I'm really excited for is everyone coming together. And I, Peter and myself and everybody, from every other candidate in camp has been saying, when we have, the nominee, we coalesce around the nominee, we come together and we defeat the worst president in American history. And so while I commend Senator Sanders on everything he contributed to the race and his supporters, and many of my friends are supporters of Senator Sanders as well. And, I think it's time that we all stand shoulder to shoulder and defeat this president, because it's not just about obviously I wanted Pete to win. And now we have one candidate, and it's so important because millions of Americans are depending on us getting this right. Teachers like myself, folks like my mother, who's still battling cancer, who needs us to fix this healthcare system. I mean, millions of people are depending on us to get this right. And it's not time for sour grapes. It's not time for infighting. It's time for coming together.
Well, it'll be interesting because Bernie did not endorse Joe Biden. He just dropped out of the race, and I guess he thought, as my husband just said, it was not the right time for a brokered or contested convention. But I think it will be interesting. To see what will happen to Bernie Sanders supporters, because there is a chasm, Chaston, using two C words, that, right now with the Democratic Party and with people who are more moderate, and then people who feel, incrementalism versus radical change. So it'll be interesting to see what Bernie's supporters do, and if they will sort of full-throatedly, if that's a word, endorse Joe Biden. Anyway, enough politics, but I want to talk to you about...
No, I understand where you're coming from, but we have two very clear choices now, right? Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And when you think about pro-healthcare, pro-LGBTQ, pro-teacher, I mean, the choice is quite clear. And I look forward to helping Vice President Biden and Dr. Biden as much as I can.
It'll be really interesting to see, the timing of all this pandemic, if it's going to affect voting and how it's going to affect voting rights and all kinds of things. By the way, I want to give a plug for everyone to fill out the census. Super important, everyone. So every community can be properly represented. I'm going to do the census tonight. That's my big activity since I did my roots last night. But everybody needs to do the census because it's critically important. I wanted just to ask you about teaching. I know you stopped teaching temporarily. As you mentioned, you're a middle school teacher. You teach drama and humanities. And so are you missing it? Are you glad that you're not having to hold these classes online?
No, I mean, I miss it terribly. And funny thing was, when the campaign ended, I was thinking about trying to find a way to be helpful back home in South Bend. And then COVID-19 popped up. I missed it so much. And early on in the campaign, I thought I was sort of trading one career for the other. But I learned so much in the classroom. And really, I was able to just sort of share those qualities mostly with grown-ups out on the campaign trail. I mean, the thing I loved about teaching wasn't necessarily teaching the humanities. It was being that person my students loved to come to, and being their person, right? And helping them believe in themselves and see what truly makes them beautiful and unique. And there are so many Americans out there right now wondering whether they fit in this country, whether they truly belong. And so that, for me, was a joy on the campaign, to travel to New Hampshire and Nevada a lot and meet with people and tell them they do fit. I myself visited about 100 LGBTQ centers and homeless service providers, often just sitting with kids who had run away from home or who either turned away from their home, and telling them, I'm here because I share a similar story to yours, and I want to make sure we get it right and we make it better. And so in turn, I sort of got to be a teacher out on the trail as well.
That's so nice. And have you been talking to some of your fellow teachers who are kind of trying to make the most of this situation and have to continue to hold their classes online? And we should, by the way, give them a massive shout out. Not only do I think teachers are the unsung heroes of our society every single day, those and our healthcare providers, by the way, and they're being tested like never before. But, have you talked to any of them about trying to keep this going and under very difficult circumstances?
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually speaking with a friend the other day about my concern for students with special needs or who need accommodations and how we're meeting all of those students' needs. And there are other teachers who haven't taught online before, who are now, spending 2-3 times on curriculum development, able to put it up online and meet with their students. I've also been talking to a lot of parents who are trying to figure out how to still work from home full time and teach their kids. And I think the thing we all need to maybe do is take a breath and realize it's not going to be perfect. And I think parents especially are putting so much pressure on themselves to be perfect and worried about they're not learning anything or haven't taught them anything today. And if I could just, give them one tip, it's that kids are naturally curious. And so if they're curious about anything right now, just engage that curiosity and understand that maybe they're going to stop learning what they learned in school because you're not the expert on that, but engage their curiosity, and now might be a great silver lining for us as well to spend this time with our children. Although I know that's a position of privilege because I don't have kids at home. So I'm sure some people are shaking their phone right now. You have no idea.
I think, I think about if my girls were little and I was teaching them and then trying to do my job, it would be very stressful. And I think, and by the way, let's give a shout out to all the parents with little kids out there, school age kids who are working from home, teaching their kids. I agree that teachers are not paid enough, whoever wrote that. And
I hope after this, a lot of the parents, I can think of a few in particular who really took teachers for granted, realize now that they're stuck at home with their child every day, how hard it is. If they're only having to teach 1 or 2, imagine what it's like to teach 100.
That's so true. But maybe parents can also learn, help their kids learn math by when they cook at night, they could get their kids involved and they could teach them measurements and how to add things. What do I know? I'm not a teacher, but I don't know.
No, that's
I guess,
absolutely true.
Right? You can have fun doing some stuff. Well, how are you guys passing the time? Are you guys cooking a lot? I know that you and Pete, really clicked because of your mutual love of Midwestern food. And nothing against Midwesterners. My mom's from Omaha and my parents met in Chicago and my husband's from Chicago. I love Midwesterners, but Midwestern food, what up with that? And what is it exactly? Besides meat and potatoes, Chaston.
I love meat and potatoes. I grew up on meat and potatoes. Our goal right now is to actually eat everything that's in the pantry and the freezer. And so we've been having some pretty boring meals, but just last night I threw in a can of baked beans and I was like, I grew up on it, so we're not going to buy more food until we eat all the food that's in this house. And my goal with Midwestern cooking especially is to get Peter out of the kitchen so I can add more butter and more cream.
Oh, is he kind of a health nut?
A little bit, yeah. He's kind of one of those people that's like, we got to work out every day now, how great, we establish a routine. And I'm like, yeah, that's good. I mean, I work out with him every day and now my body hurts. But then I go right back to sitting on the couch and binging Netflix.
What are you watching? Have you watched anything you're really enjoying?
Everyone was talking about Tiger King. I got one episode into it and it wasn't for me.
A lot of my friends have said that. I had a little high school reunion last night. I had wine with I think 8 of my friends I went to high school with, and some of them said the same thing. They said they couldn't handle it after an episode or 2. I watched the whole damn thing. It was so fascinating to me, and it makes you think, wow, the underbelly of society is really scary.
Yeah, I mean, well, we went a year and a half really without television, and now it's just I'm a kid in a candy store. I can watch whatever I want, and so I've restarted Schitt's Creek.
Oh, that's great.
We just started Westworld. I'm excited to catch up on Modern Family. I talked with Jesse Tyler Ferguson earlier today.
Oh, he's great.
My feed is just full of shows I can't wait to finish.
We watched Succession. Someone just said Succession is amazing. And I'm watching a multi-part series called Unorthodox on Netflix about a woman, Ozarks, a lot of people like that, about a woman who leaves this the Hasidic Jewish community in New York. People are saying they like Unorthodox too. Someone's saying Freud on Netflix is good. I think, didn't Schitt's Creek, or aren't they having the final episode in an hour special?
Yeah, I think that's tonight, or maybe no, it was 2 days ago, I think.
Oh,
And so these are shows I loved, and then the campaign happened, and I stopped watching them.
yeah. Well, you can catch up on everything you missed now. You're going to have plenty of time. Are you reading any good books?
You know, I've been slow to pick up. The hard thing was coming from like going 100 miles an hour every day to zero. It's very hard to sit still. And I
Yeah.
always feel like, you know, someone's going to come ask me to get in the SUV or go to the next thing. So reading's been actually really hard for me. And I've been trying to journal, you know, just my experiences from the campaign trail, but it's very hard to sit for more than 30 minutes unless I'm watching TV, because then I've got like snacks and wine and
Yeah, I know
doesn't
what you mean.
require a
I
lot of
also
work.
think when you're anxious, I've had some anxiety producing periods of my life, like when my husband was sick, and I found it's very hard to kind of concentrate. And I would read the same paragraph over and over again of a
Yeah.
book. So, but I think I'm there. There's a book that the Surgeon General just wrote, Vivek Murthy, who was the Surgeon General in the Obama administration, about loneliness, called Together. And it's all about sort of the epidemic of loneliness and social isolation. And it's a really good book. And I think he talks, and now I just interviewed him for my podcast that drops tomorrow. Shameless plug, everybody. Next question. He's such a fascinating, lovely man. His voice is so soothing. And we talk about sort of this epidemic of loneliness and the
Yeah.
fact that there's even a minister of loneliness in Great Britain. So anyway, I recommend Vivek's book because I think it's really, really good. I'll think of some other books and I'll DM you, Chaston.
That's great.
People
There's
are
so
saying
many.
they're watching Little Fires Everywhere. I'm kind of
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel. Oh, his name is Vivek Murthy, Murthy, and it's called Together. Anyway, I could talk to you all day. People are saying we look alike. I think I'm old enough to be your mother,
Is it the
Chaston, but
glasses? Yeah.
maybe it is the glasses. But so fun to catch up with you. Please give Pete our
I
best
will.
and tell him we're very proud of what he contributed to the democratic process. Do you think he'll ever do it again?
You know, I hope he stays involved. I mean, the thing is, I think the joke I told him the day he dropped out was, just think you could wait 40 years and run and still be younger than, you know, people who were running at the time. And so I just want Peter to stay involved because I loved hearing his voice, and I know so many other people loved hearing his voice. And he just has such a sensible way about him that I think relaxes people. It makes people feel seen and welcome. And so I will stand by his side. But I am taking some time for myself now, so that's why I tell him to like leave me alone in the living room. I'm watching my shows. But I hope he stays active, and I hope you know, he stays involved with the Democratic Party going forward.
Well, it was really, really fun to talk to you. I appreciate everybody that enjoyed our conversation, except for the person who said Katie's irrelevant. And how is Regis doing?
I mean, the thing is, Katie, people have so much time. They
I'm
just have
like,
so much time. I don't like, I'm in isolation right now, and I have all this time. I'm like, I'm going to watch these shows. I'm going to read these books. I'm going to bake bread. I can't imagine ever spending my free time just like attacking people online. Like,
I
that's just
know,
so
but
lonely,
I mean, if I had a nickel for every person who's anyway, but that's okay. Most of my followers, I have to say, I love my followers. I really feel like I've built this wonderful community of people. But every once in a while you do get these weirdos, and I do love the person that said, "How is Regis doing, Katie?" I'm Katie Couric. I'm not Kathy Lee Gifford, everybody, but I do love Regis, and if you want, I
Welcome
am
to the
going to
internet.
reach out and see how he's doing so I can report back to you.
It was wonderful chatting with you. I love
So
that we have
fun.
these abilities to stay connected and just, bring hope and help people feel more connected and together. So thanks for
Well, I
having
have
me
to say,
on.
you're not just a teacher. You're a wonderful teacher, and I think you're a fantastic interview too. I have to say, Chaston, it's nice
Oh,
to hear
thanks.
your views separately as your own person. And so it was really fun talking to you. And don't listen to the haters. I really don't. Now I think it's sort of funny, but it used to really hurt my feelings when people said mean things about me. I'm sure you went through this too, Chaston. but I think it says more about them than it does about you. And I feel bad for
That's
them, actually.
absolutely right. Yeah. I mean, I used to, teach cyberbullying and talk to teenagers every day about getting picked on. And then, my husband ran for president. It's like, oh, wow. I get to take my own advice now. Because, I mean, behind a lot of the commentary online, I think, is a lot of hurt. And
I agree.
if you can peel that back and realize, some really bad things have happened to a lot of people. And there's so much hopelessness. And people, like I was saying, just wonder, like, do I fit? Do I belong? Do people love me? Am I accepted? And I think, you just got to take some of that stuff with a grain of salt, like you've learned and like I had to learn. Like, people are just hurt. And
I think you're so right. And I always try to consider the source in the best possible way and try to understand what motivates people. And a lot of times it is hurt. A lot of times it is fear. It's anxiety. It's feeling marginalized or diminished or not heard. So I think you're totally right about that. But anyway, fun talking to you. What are you guys having for dinner tonight?
I'm going to try risotto.
Risotto.
It's my first time, so it's probably going to,
You got to stir it. I
we'll
think you have to constantly be stirring it.
Yeah, but I just opened a bottle of wine, so I've got time, to...
And if it doesn't taste that well, you're not that good, you're not going to really mind, right?
Yeah, no, Pete will eat anything. He's like a raccoon. Like, I could feed him garbage, and he'd be like, this is wonderful, honey. Thank you so much. Like, it's not a big deal.
He's like a raccoon. I'm sure that really warms his heart when you compare him to a raccoon. Well, my daughter is
put dinner on the table.
My daughter's cooking dinner tonight. She made pumpkin bread.
Oh, yum.
Farro.
We're having farro,
Butternut squash.
and
like a feta cilantro salad.
And a feta cilantro salad
gosh.
of some kind. My daughter,
Wow.
Carrie, and Adriana, who works with me, who we've adopted for the duration of the pandemic. Well, hopefully for the duration of the pandemic. Carrie and Adriana cook one night. John and I cook one night. And then John's son, Henry, and his girlfriend, Candace, are here. So we trade off nights, and it's really been kind of fun. And it's nice having 6 people all together. And people are saying, I hear you, Adriana. Adriana, as you know, went to Notre Dame, and you guys met at a coffee shop. Isn't that a small world story?
It's a very small world. I'm glad she's working with you. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, go Irish. Even though I went to UVA.
I'm a terrible, I just don't care about college athletics at all.
Oh, it's okay, Chaston.
I go to the football game because they have the best soft pretzels at Notre Dame.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I go to the concession stand like 5 times. Like, you guys do your football thing.
They have the best everything at Notre Dame.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's just, you would know, Ben's Pretzels in South Bend.
Oh, heck yeah. And also at Brothers, they have the best cheese curds and the best
Cheese
pretzels.
curds. Okay, I don't get the cheese curds thing, ladies and gentlemen. I gave the graduation address at the University of Wisconsin, which I was so honored to do that. And I had cheese curds for the first time. And I am so sorry. They are nasty, people.
Then you didn't have good cheese curds.
Really?
Yeah.
Sorry,
I
Jenny,
don't
you're
know.
breaking up. I think the interview's over.
Okay.
How
All
dare
right.
you?
Yeah, we digress. Okay. All right. Great to
These
talk to
curds
you,
are
Chaston.
amazing. I apologize to the entire state of Wisconsin on your behalf.
I'm
and
sorry. I
will
love people from Wisconsin. Is it okay if I don't like cheese curds? I'm really sorry.
Yes.
I'm going to give it another try, everybody.
This
All
is
you
America.
Wisconsin
You're allowed
people.
to have your opinion.
Okay. I
You're allowed
just
to have your
insulted
cheese
cheese
opinion.
curds. Please forgive me, Wisconsin people. Anyway, all right. Nice talking to you, Justin.
It was so wonderful chatting with you. Take care.
Okay. See you guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.